So let's dig into this first match, our lower bracket finals between SSG and Virtus.pro. Starting with the SSG roster there. I mean, obviously we're all very familiar with it. They were relying very heavily on Brawl in their last match. In their first bout against VP, they actually played mostly D.Va. So what do you expect to see from them today, Mitch?
Well, we've seen a lot of our teams actually just move over to the Ramatra as this bracket has proceeded, pretty much primarily. Now, the D.Va was a good option, I think, especially with controlling Pharah when we saw these Pharah comps come out. But up against Ashe and also, honestly, Mei, the risk has been deemed too great by a lot of our teams to sort of force the Pharah on too many maps. So I think D.Va's applications are a little bit more limited, and like we sort of talked about at the top of the show, Ramatra really, benefits hugely from being inside Orbit Array. It's all the things that he wants. Basically, any hero wants it, to be fair, but, it really incentivizes this death ball type play that we've been seeing, and definitely rewards like your Mei players for being able to find ways to isolate the enemy Ramatra, whether it's like sneaky blizzards or a good wall or something like that. And that's where like a lot of the edge is found in these fights. So I don't really expect to see a ton of D.Va outside of some niche cases, maybe where you are concerned about like trying to deal with Pharah or something similar.
Yeah, I'm on board with that as well. I think as the weekend has progressed and as the meta has slowly sort of, coalesced into one thing that the teams have basically agreed on playing, it's the Ram comp. It's also looking over towards Mei and Ashe being the standout picks. We're not even seeing that much Tracer anymore. We're still seeing a little bit maybe. I thought we'd get a lot more Pharah, but that's starting to fall out of favor as well. Sorna's been playing the most Pharah, so if anyone's going to bring it out, you're looking at VP, you're looking at Sorna to be able to do that. Still, I think VP have the most flexible lineup for this particular meta. At least they've shown their willingness to play more than other teams. Canale particularly has been playing a lot of Ana so far, whereas most of the teams have gone towards a Brig. So that's still something I expect out of Canale. So even though we've landed on basically this kind of Ram matchup, this Ram mirror, the 1 point of difference VP will continue to play through, I believe firmly, is that Canale will stay on the Ana for the most part, unless we get towards, the push maps, you go to a Ruinous RP or something, then the Brig comes probably through again, or on certain other points, certain other maps, they'll probably look over towards a Brig, but for the most part, I think that's the point of difference that you need to look at. I think he's been a big factor as well. He's been landing a lot of amazing sleep darts and nades and all sorts.
Yeah, I mean, this is also going to be the one thing that could be abused by SSG. I'm pretty sure they're well aware of those switch-ups that Virtus.pro has been making. Virtus.pro, obviously, they had a really good run through the lower bracket, not really dropping much there. They do want to get their revenge from the first-time meet against SSG. If we're looking at our viewer predictions, 52% still believing in SSG, but quite frankly, the predictions very much display what I'm feeling as well. Like, I think this has the potential of going all the way again. It might be a very, very close series we have on our hands once more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the edge that SSG had in this matchup was on the control map Zoe. They had a 6-map series and they got to play control twice and they won them both pretty handily, eventually taking the series away. So that's where I'll be worried about SSG here.
Well, you have to worry not much longer because we'll find out very soon who's going to come out on top. And meet ends in the grand finals. We're ready for our first match of the day, the lower bracket finals. Take it away, guys.
Thank you very much. It is time, folks. That's right. The winner of this game will advance to take on ENCE in our grand final of the FACEIT League EMEA Masters Season 2. Here is your map pool. And as we sort of discussed yesterday, it is not loser pick. Basically, at the start of the series, you'll have a map type selected. Each team will get to ban one. And then Team A or Team B, depending on the pick order, will get to select one that remains. So looking at this map pool here, we have Lijiang Tower selected by SSG. And again, I think game type matters and map matters as well between SSG and VP. For example, SSG really struggled on Junkertown. That's not a map that was able to make its way into this series. In fact, it was banned immediately by SSG when they came to selecting that 5th map. So they can avoid that. It'll be Circuit Royal for that one, but we have to wait to see if we even get there in the first place. First up, Kev, we're off to Lijiang Tower.
Shambali got banned out coming through from the side of VP as well, so no surprise that Junkertown ends up being out of the mix for SSG. They want to get rid of that and look over towards the Circle Rail at the end, as you mentioned, because that's one of their better maps. However, we start once again on Lijiang, which has, I think, been probably the most picked map so far. No one's surprised by that. It's just, the default, but particularly for these teams, I mean, they played Lijiang over and over again. First, we saw from SSG VP in that 6th map, it was a 2-0 for Spacestation on Lijiang Tower. And VP as well have Well, actually, if we look over to the SSG Ents game, Ensign had the 2-0 on Lee Jung-Tao with that C9 as well, if you remember from yesterday.
That's right. That was a little bit of an unfortunate end to that round, but we cast our minds to this edition of Lee Jung-Tao. And out of the gates, we do have Virtus.pro on the Diva composition, so they are not going to start with Ramatra here, and Hardy, clearly pleased with this, is going to push straight up and take some of this map control. Cloud got caught on the right-hand side. I don't think he was ready to fall back with the rest of VP.
That's just going to be instant player advantage. We'll see if VP end up swapping it all. I do still think the Diva is pretty good in this meta, but maybe just a little bit too gimmicky, flying through the hyper ring to go for that one shot, the one burst damage onto a backline of it. With the fact that the Ram is there and there is no Spark or Ash to be seen, Cloud's just going to take advantage and go straight towards the fire. Very good and guarded.
This is almost going to guarantee Sparker being forced to switch to Ash when they have the opportunity, but for now they need to fight on the sim. Cloud with some poke here, and it's speculative at best, not able to put too much pressure down. Sauna actually just, there it is. I mean, you can count on this like once every map or so. Backbone just randomly killing a DPS at long range, and that was the Ash that he found with the ice spikes.
It's not even just Sparker going over towards Ash. You might even see Hardy going over towards the Diva if the fire is a huge problem, but you have to also consider the fact that Sauna is their typical fire play for VP, so they've kind of swapped roles here a little bit, where Cloud is now on towards the fire. Sauna, you know, he's on towards the Ash, as you would expect, because that's very important here still in this particular meta. So they're going to try and work this double poke, really heavy poke style. And they obviously have that Ana to play through as well. So we get to see any value, though. Nanaru's going to come online soon.
It is working, though. Big damage on Hardy early. Backbone and Sparker also went low down to about half HP before the fight even began. Rajara, though, comes out on Nemesis form. He risks this Hardy. The ladder hit by a Bardic Grenade, but Sorter again falls to Backbone. Look at the location of that body as well. It's still on the bridge. Virtus.pro making it all too easy for Spacestation to have themselves a shooting gallery. Now Blizzard going to be thrown down. Orbital Ray as well for Hardy. He's having to move up to the point. Even with that Bionade, it seems like he just shrugs it off.
More swaps coming through. Sauna now over towards the Venture, and they're going to lose Rajara here. This is going to be final fight in just a moment. Spacestation have won every single engagement so far. VP are barely keeping up. They've barely even forced ultimates on the other side. You mentioned Backbone, but he's been the key member that has been sniping out VP the entire way through. And VP, for the majority of Lee Jung so far, have been running a double poke on the DPS, and they still are losing out to a singular Meg. So, I think anything done here, maybe a barrage on top of Hardy if Clark can actually find a kill. Hardy is somewhat solo.
Virtus.pro don't even have an ult advantage as a result of losing a bunch of these fights. Spacestation have been holding onto these key abilities. Both teams also went for the orbital raise in the previous fight, so we're going to be matching annihilations. And Leonard has a rally. He's able to take care of Sauna straight away. The Venture picked off first. Sauna is the first pick in the last 3 fights, and it's not being washes. At least VP can recover. It's a good barrage from Cloud here to try and even the ledger.
3v2 as well. Funny Asher and Hardy, the only ones up, or SSG, and it might not be enough. They'll have some reinforcements soon. Hardy's going to retain the point as much as possible by using the Annihilation, but I don't know if it's going to be enough for VP to get past, because they also are lacking members.
Rajara knows he can hold on to this Annihilation. He doesn't have to use it here. He does at least feel like Gala's close enough to keep him topped up, but sort of comes back in and brings Hardy down. Spacestation really try to force the issue to end the round with that Ramatra ultimate, but it doesn't pay off, and Hardy was slept anyway. The Annihilation got very little value.
That might just be the round. If VP can't swing this back, they have ultimates to play through. They do have timing.
Here's the Annihilation now from Rajaro. Can he end the round? Orbital Ray comes out from Spacestation, but Landon had already fallen. Hardy trying to make use of it, though. If they get Rajaro here, it could be huge. He's nanoed. He's in Annihilation, and Sauna's Tectonic Shock is going to lay the groundwork for Virtus.pro getting back into the round.
Cost them 4 ultimates, cost them everything. I mean, they needed to throw everything at the wall for SSG to be able to push them off that point. I mean, Sauna comes through finally. Double kill on this Venture ultimate. I think the Venture was partially, you know, you want to be able to punish this Symmetra coming through from Sparker. You also want something that's going to have longevity on that overtime point. And now that Sparker goes back over towards the Ash, or goes towards the Ash for the first time actually on this map, Sauna's going to match.
Unreal.
Jaro, a bit of pressure.
Yeah, down to 30% basically straight away. And he's still struggling to get healed back up here. Everybody on Virtus.pro has Rajaro isolated, and that should be it. It was a beautiful Maywall that blocked off the bridge, and that is where Virtus.pro have been having to play when they haven't been in a priority position on the map. Sparky here with layers of protection as Hardy gets ahead of him. Cloud eventually will be felled as well. And it was just Canale left to hold the flag up for VP on the point. Generally a dominant round by Spacestation there. A brief moment for VP, but not nearly enough.
I mean, just a gigantic lead. It was a 99-0, but also an economic lead as well. SSG didn't have to really use any ultimates to win the majority of the fights, especially at the start. You're looking over towards Backbone, continual picks. Landon, I believe, actually got the first blood. a boop kill potentially onto Cloud. We saw the whip shot in the kill feed, but it's likely that whip shot was booping Cloud off. That, or Cloud just took so much damage that the whip shot got the final kill. But in any case, various fights in the opening during the neutrals where Virtus.pro just couldn't have 5-man up. And even a secondary fight, I believe, at some fight in there where they were 1-man down. Canal still goes for that nano. VP wanted to make the 4v5 happen and just can't really force it versus SSG, who are so much further ahead.
Maybe not the most favorable break of rounds on the randomizer here for Virtus.pro. As we're over to Control Center now, where Sauna has to play a little bit more with the rest of the team, has to just try and be a part of that poke apparatus for VP. Backbone wants to dive in here, or at least thought about it. Rajaro, again, a face full of poke damage. Spacestation in the neutral have been terrifying. And the moment they isolate Rajaro, it seems like it's going to be curtains. Cloud trying to snipe down over towards Backbone as he was in midair, as Rajaro finishing the job here. But exposes himself somewhat. It was a great sleep on Hardy, though, from Canale, making sure there's no threat of reprisal. But Sauna got a little bit too close to the sun there. Funny Astro able to clip them. TP being used here by Sparker, who's starting to really ramp up in this fight. And Sauna, now not a problem. Spacestation don't have to deal with this threat of the Pharah. Cloud wants to push up and hopes to use the bulk of Rajaro to block some of this damage coming through. It has to ice block anyway. Those turrets from Sparker are finding their mark.
You're about to see ultimates come through, and the point hasn't even capped yet, so this fight is going a very long time. Gala looking for the first ultimate now. Right behind him is Canale as well, so VP have a great timing here.
All right, here's the Ray. You see Backbone already trying to get towards the back line. It's going to be a nano boost up here for Canale as well. Hardy's fallen, though. That is huge. Spacestation lose their most important player, and even in a 4v4, they know it's done.
Very economic as well. Single ultimate. Canale holds onto the nano. Spacestation thought about potentially popping something through there, but with Hardy down early, it's just not going to be the case. You can see an opportunity for Spacestation where if Hardy could stay alive for a little bit longer. Fighting Astro pops the counter ray. Landed finally finds that rally as well, and SSG can get something done. They do have reasonable good retake ultimates here. Notice, by the way, Backbone's fallen quite a bit far behind. He was the first death, I believe, in that initial neutral. He spent a little bit more time dead. It's Canale looking for the potential high ground anti-nade. It's going to get blocked out by the shield, though.
Yeah. This could be a problem. This, photon barrier coming up, making it a little bit harder for Canale to heal teammates on the other side of it. He may need to drop down and play with the rest of the squad. Cloud goes very low early. Rajaro now in a Nemesis form after taking an appreciable amount of poke damage. Upstairs, clearly, his Backbone looking to go, but Sparker was brought to heal by Rajaro. Blizzard here as well for Virtus.pro. These ultimates are breaking well for them. That's not something that Spacestation have access to whatsoever. And the orbital ray passes by without really having made a huge impact. Hardy, instead of the first pick now, is the last one standing, but the problem is still the same. No flip here for Spacestation, and VP are stacking up that capture percentage.
It's going to be a late death on Hardy as well. As the rest of Spacestation respawn, Hardy goes down. It's going to be the maximum stagger. And beyond that, economics go the way of VP here. Double support ultimates used by Spacestation. Guess what? Cloud has that perfect Blizzard. I believe it catches both supports, or at least it will catch Landon, who was in rally, by the way. So you have your rally cancelled, and the auto raid doesn't do anything for SSG.
We've seen Spacestation have to switch to the Ash. Sparker off the Symmetra now as well. The Pharah becoming a bit of a nuisance, and it's going to be an early annihilation here for Virtus.pro to catch his Landon off. Backbone's forced to back away, and they get Rajaro. A 1-for-1 here. Rajaro maybe overconfident with the orbital ray, thinking that he could hang around and do all this work. Hardy now has that later annihilation. And Spacestation do have the ability to get to the point, especially in lieu of Canale, who's felled by some dynamite. Now the coin flips. This time it's Spacestation who get back in at 99-0.
A silver lining is that Hardy also had to pop Annihilation, so it's not all bad for VP. However, that could have been a lot cleaner. I do agree that perhaps Rajaro just oversteps a little bit. You don't want to really go for that spawn cap. At least if you are, maybe just a little bit too early. Get a little bit closer to 99, so you have to force a touch burst from SSG. Bad news for SSG, though, is they're kind of on a weird comp now. Juno Kiriko. See if they can make that one work. Backbone holding the only ultimate until Sparky gets Bob.
Sauna has to play like this now up against Ash. It's a problem. Bob as well as scary prospect if it locks onto the Pharah. Here's the tectonic shot from Backbone. Does look to push up a little bit, and VP just respect it. They have a buffer to work with, and they've drawn this Venture Ultimate out now.
Yeah, they got way more to work with too as well, so still plenty to play in. Blizzard is, of course, going to be very difficult to get out of. Landon has to save a Sousa for that. Barrage time, possibly.
That'll do it. Landon actually swift steps right into the line of sight of Sauna, who with this nano boost has a pretty easy time laying the barrage down. Sparker fell just after the fact. Bob is a bit of a nuisance here. Cloud playing inside that orbital ray here, but being healed up on the periphery by those pulsar torpedoes. Canale, though, goes down in the corner. He was supposed to stay alive there. In Spacestation, actually. I better hold on to the point. Gala can only look on here as Hardy says, come and get me.
He needs to live. He really needs to live because the orbital ray is very important. He'll get the mega pack. Orbital ray comes down. Let's see if his team can actually use that one. Speed ray will get him out of danger.
It's in an odd spot. He sends it across the point at least, so Gala now is able to benefit from it, but a Kiriko switch from Lantern means a Kitsune Rush is now available. Blizzard here for VP. Annihilation for Hardy, wants to come forward. Lantern caught out there, Rajaro able to swing on him, but Hardy's still a threat. Looks to try and get in the direction of Rajaro here, who is low and who comes out of Nemesis form himself. Hardy now, his Annihilation has expired finally. He has a health advantage, but Backbone goes down. Gala actually wins that fight on the periphery of the map. Backbone was harassing that Juno constantly, but can't find purchase. And in the end, VP able to get back in control. Hardy wants to step up, but Funny Astro has been isolated. Hardy has at least found Cloud. There is something to work off here, and Funny Astro is awful slippery, but Sora fully commits for the kill. And Hardy, without any backup in healing, eventually falls on the point, or even up here on Leisure.
And Mitch, all it takes is that one slip from VP going for the spawn count. Rajaro biting off more than he can chew, goes down in the spawn of SSG, and then suddenly it's 90% for Space Station, and what looked like it could have been a 100-0 for VP on Control Center. They had such an amazing initial neutral, all the leads that they gained, and a couple of mistakes. There was further mistakes on the other fights when SSG started to cap as well. You have a situation where, Sorna was able to, or the fire from VP was able to get this double kill. That was Sorna actually, because Cloud was on the Mei, and then Sorna just doesn't realize the Bob's on the point, ends up going towards the Bob and dies, and suddenly VP are down members. Hardy's the only one alive, and Space Station recover a losing situation. So it's not comfortable for VP, even though they won the last round.
We talked about the Bob, it's scary. Even for a Pharah who is nano boosted. Once he locks onto you, you have to get out of LOS, which can be hard to do if you're floating around the map. Still Pharah here for Sorna. Sparker though on the Ash this time. No ifs, no buts about it. Coming out in the Symmetra against an expected Pharah comp seems like a bad way to start the map, and it's a loss of tempo here. Conk used for Sorna just to bounce Hardy around and not actually look for an environmental kill. The Virtus.pro throw that Mei wall up to the right side of the point. They look to make their way through with over the top. Sorna getting their poke damage in.
And importantly, Backbone back on the Mei here, so I think that's a better look for Space Station. He likes to play the Venture on Control Center. Much more close quarters map. They had that Venture battle against my Moan yesterday, but now this is the look that's better for SSG. Can they get something aggressive done here? Yes.
Yeah, Canal picked off. That's the Sparker. Able to find him at a longer range here. Virtus.pro spent too long in a neutral without an action in their composition and without Sorna really in position to threaten any lethality. So Sparker can line his targets up and he finds the Ana, the most important, arguably.
Let's see if Funny Astra can get a reliable lead here as well. Backbone sleeping could be problematic.
Yep.
And it is huge damage. Just a rocket, Bionade, Gala with the left click as well. And that's going to give them a nice 5v4. Can they convert that further? Gala's catch up to Funny Astra as well.
Easier said than done, that kill on the Mei. You had to be very coordinated with your abilities, otherwise she picks herself up and goes into Ice Block immediately. Sorna now has point control, so trying to just work around Hardy to some degree. It's a very low health from Archer, but Funny Astra is going to commit the orbital ray here. They're going to go for it. Hardy instantly topped back up. Rojaro and Sorna just crumble here. And again, at Space Station, you get better Juno ult value. While Canal, unfortunately, is already only a footnote here. The Blizzard's going to be committed by Cloud. He wants to go for it. Gala and Cloud combine. Hardy here, still alive, still kicking. But that's a nasty blow here from Virtus. Can they convert it into a flip? I think with a 2v1, they can work on this from Archer. I love that from Hardy. He commits the Annihilation. He says, I'm not so easy to bring down. Barrage here for Sorna committed. Virtus.pro are throwing everything at Space Station. Still don't have a flip though. 75% on counter here, and Space Station have some numbers to work with. They come back in. Gala instantly goes down to some Pulsar torpedoes, and Sorna's just stuck on the outside looking in.
Need the Nano to come through with the Annihilation combo. Sorna staying alive here would be huge as well. They've only got one healer on VP. We find something after this Annihilation. It's nearly 99% for SSG, so if this fight goes SSG, the map is gone. Landon even has time to do a little bit of squatting on the point.
Fully committed. That Bob was actually huge there for Rojaro. Well, against him rather, as he came out of the Annihilation. Ended up getting brought down. Good kiting of the Annihilation with the wall by Backbone to stay alive, and that was a sick round. That was one fight, basically from start to finish. Space Station flood the point here, and again, it's just Hardy in like a 1v2 going for an Annihilation. Then the reinforcements come. It goes back and forth both ways. A Blizzard even committed in that fight. That was a lot of fun. A very quick round though, and Space Station do take control again.
A lot of risk being taken by VP though. You know, they don't want to give up the fight. You have a situation where they're down heavily in members, and Cloud says, I'm going to pop through on the Blizzard here. Let's see what else we can get. Yeah, throws up a few members, Hardy included. Got themselves a couple of kills. But when push comes to shove, they struggled to get Hardy down in time, used a barrage, but all the respawners coming back in for SSG was still so strong, and they had ultimates. So Rally was there for Landon, and the respawners just kind of overpowered VP, and that extended fight goes heavily in the way of Spacestation. And I think the difference here for me, Mitch, is when you have the proper Ram May composition come through for SSG, they just look like the more superior team. They look like the more practiced team there, and that's how we saw there as well for Sauna going down super early on the venture in that opening. So did actually go off the map. It might have been a mistake there, execution-wise as well. But yeah, I do think that part of the reason why they lost control center match is because they weren't on that classic May and Ram look. Backbone wanted to play the venture instead, which is what he did yesterday, and yeah, it didn't work then and didn't work now.
Yeah, I mean, and look, the Mesa Metro didn't really do much about the Pharah. It's a comp that really doesn't interact with her, which is what allows Sauna to do this. Look at the Swift Step from Landon. He can't fold him for that. His other support is low, so he wants to jump to them. Completely reasonable, but ends up directly in the line of that barrage. Sauna there, that big commitment on to getting rid of the Juno. This was a very good round. And this last round was a constant fight. No team wanted to fully regroup. They backed themselves in like 2v3s or, you know, these like very short-handed situations. So very interesting fights. And it's the kind of thing you could probably analyze this round quite a few times and see a bunch of very little inflection points, very small plays. Hardy here, for example, in 1v2 just goes for the ult. That armor is very, very impactful. And there's enough time for Canal to come back and top him up. The barrage, though, forces him off the point. And then Rajaro comes back with Annihilation of his own. But look at the Bob positioning. Force Rajaro off the point. Backbone is actually able to survive through that. And then Canal hits a massive bio. All of a sudden, we're not too sure, but at this point, VP have basically shoved off the point, and the numbers, the respawn, favors SSG. But that's the kind of replay you could just cast again. Man, that was a sick round.
They actually never lacked a tank, if you notice that, because Hardy goes down, then Bob just replaces Hardy as a tank, and then Bob goes down, Hardy's back. So they had zero downtime as far as tanking was concerned. So that was one of the problems. And yeah, Nana Ram with the Annihilation, unfortunately not getting any purchase there as well, is really, really rough for Rajara, because he had to sort of, you know, look everywhere, all four corners of that control point, where to find anyone to try and run down, but just couldn't get a single kill. Landon even popping in the chat like, Nano Annihilation 0 kills, lol. It's like, yeah, unfortunate.
Backbone trolled him. He broke his ankles. He threw out the wall, which obviously breaks LOS. And then as soon as like he couldn't use the wall anymore, he just ice blocked for 3 seconds. And then all of a sudden that wall disappears. The Bob just starts pounding Rajaro, and he's like, well, I probably just need to walk off the point now. I can't sort of stay here and fight. Sick round. Love that. When neither team really wants to give up the fight, neither team wants to really regroup, and they just sort of go at it. It comes in waves. A lot of fun. But it is another SSG control map win. And next, of course, we're heading over to King's Row. Paraíso was banned by VP. Eichenwalde was banned by SSG. And that's how we ended up here.
You know what's funny about King's Row, Mitch, is the last time these two played, a couple days ago now, this was the map that drew that then allowed the series to go to a 6-mapper in another control. So both teams played pretty well here, all things considered. And if we...
A lot of diva play, right? I think.
Yeah, it was a full diva mirror for sure, and that's why I think it's going to be different today. I think Hardy is probably not going to opt for that. And if you remember as well, we listened into Hardy's comms. I believe it was actually in the Ents game where he did say, look, if they're going to run a Pharah on the defense, he's going to swap from the Ram to the diva on the offense. But otherwise, against Ents, they were very happy to just run the Ram. So we'll see what happens on that defensive. So it doesn't seem like Sauna is going to be on that Pharah. I mean, we saw Cloud on a little bit of that Pharah as well. Yeah. The fact that there is no fire, it's just going to be the very standard mirror matchup here. Now a true mirror result because Canale's also going to be on the break.
Yeah, and we mentioned that, right? We see Canale make that switch up on a couple of maps. SSG got to be feeling good after that first map, especially the way that they won. Let's listen in and hear what the plan is for map 2.
I'm going to get an active when he's ready.
Playing like it's 0-0, guys, okay?
Yeah. Check what the Ram.
Again, or am I tripping?
I have not seen. I don't think.
I
didn't see. Yeah. Oh my god.
Ram,
Don't see. Ash is on top.
Break.
Okay, I will go to right. No dark.
All on top.
2-1. Shoot them.
Yeah, I'm big
Yeah. No wall. Ready. I will tap. I will go up on
I
3, 2. Main brick lock. Main brick. Main one.
Hardy with you.
Main no block. Main no block. Ram low. Ram low. Sloan alls. Cam hooked on. I'm gonna touch one.
They might
I'm
drop
gonna
on you.
go back up top. Yeah, I'm coming back
Yeah.
up top.
It's okay,
coming
it's okay,
from top.
I'm baiting,
Drop
ping for people.
Drop in. I told
Wait,
you.
yeah, I'm coming.
On you.
Yeah, Mayone,
They're all
Mayone.
pushing. Ram in.
Follow me,
Bomb advantage. Walk in.
Kill me.
May one break
Nice,
one.
break in. Really good job. Actually perfect.
Staggering him a bit. Staggering him
Yeah,
a
that,
bit.
no, that
Staggering him. Poof him. Stagger him.
Did you hear that? They were basically saying that fight was perfect. As far as what we're trying to do, perfect. Great calling there as well. That's, by the way, Hardy's excited voice for those that aren't sure. Yeah, very, very inspirational stuff there. But my God, Spacestation Avril in that neutral with amazing from the low ground as well. They had Rajaro and Cloud like 10% HP just with some poke.
Yeah, they were able to just completely dominate the high ground, transfer to the low ground. Sparker even successful on that flanking angle as well. There could have been a moment to punish there as Rajaro just push into Sparker, but being able to be kept safe allows Space Station just regroup as 5 and eventually get that first pick onto Gala and snowball the rest. And speaking of snowballing, they are about to have all 5 ultimates. VP are not that far behind, but unless this one goes for a little bit longer, we're not due to see 10 ults here. SSG just might pull trigger early if they understand they have an advantage.
That sounds like it. Here's that Blizzard first, but that's avoided entirely by Virtus.pro. Bob comes out from Sauna as well to allow them to disengage. So these two teams have to be satisfied with that exchange of ults for now because there's more to come, folks. Many more. Both support ultimates up for both sides, and of course the annihilations are going to be a factor. Here is a rally though, first from Canale.
Early, I think.
Vortex thrown down for Rajaro, trying to hold SSG in place, but the wall comes a little bit too late. Now Space Station have a rally of their own. They're ready to take priority and push on up. We're still holding on to our Juno ultimates, but crucially a Bob up here for Sparker. While not a, crazy ultimate in its own right, could be a difference maker here. As we saw that come out earlier, Sparker throws his down now. That's the Bob. Orbital Ray now being used from Virtus.pro, looking to push up. The Waldo buys Virtus.pro a little bit of space, but Space Station walk around it. They circumvent that defensive architecture, and Rajaro desperately trying to hold on. But Space Station, all of a sudden, look miles ahead in this comp.
I still don't think SSG have lost a single member yet. I mean, you look at the kill feed there. VP are going down, and SSG are staying alive, and important there as well. You saw a little bit of macro from VP where they foresaw the Sparker flank for the Bob, and Rajaro was trying to get in the way of that one, blocked the Bob slightly, but still did not prevent the off angle. And so Bob being on that off angle just made things so difficult for VP. And you mentioned it, the extra Bob allows Space Station to get so much more work done when Sauna had uses quite a bit early on, traded for Backbone's Blizzard, but now we're all the way on C with a huge time bank on board for SSG.
Yeah, and Sparker has to turn around here. Virtus.pro love this. They make a way into the back line through the Mega Room and catch Space Station out. You can tell that because Sparker was a little surprised having to turn 180 as he was taking poke damage from that low ground. And what looked like a almost perfect Juno's round from Space Station up until now finally is slowed down a little bit, but Hardy wanted to commit there. He really wants to fight this out. First there was an annihilation, and he punishes Cloud for this overextension. He gets a good timing on the Nemesis cooldown. Rajaro also is walled off from the rest of his team now, and a Vortex is going to try and hold him in place, but he has that cooldown. Nemesis form used, and Sauna gets involved with a Bob.
Still gets pretty expensive for VP at the end of the day. I thought maybe Cloud could have considered the Blizzard, but might have been concerned about Gala speeding, or rather finding actually speeding Hardy out of there. In any case, they ended up using one ultimate in the Bob to at least try and win that fight. SSG were kind of on the downturn in terms of losing members. I think that might have been the first couple of deaths there for SSG because they didn't really lose anyone A or B. So it takes until the C defense for VP to actually come online.
Rajaro's in trouble. That's a great wall. Bionade comes in from Canale. It's lucky for Rajaro that Canale takes an aggressive off angle here, probably trying to set up an offensive bio, but instead he's able to keep their tank alive because that wall was masterful there by Backbone.
Hardy frozen.
Yep, Hardy, overextended, brought down by their Blizzard, and is removed. And now Virtus.pro have a chance to relieve the pressure here. Landon was hit by a bionic grenade. Desperately, he's able to get back up, but Backbone can't come forward right now.
Waiting for opportunity though. SSG still hold good ultimates. You can push on Bob, you can push on Orbital Ray as well. It'll be matched by Gala. And now Backbone has the advantage on the Blizzard. That'll be really important to get Rajaro. His walls have been pretty good so far. You've seen Rajaro caught up by the wall multiple times now.
Defensive May wall being used here by Virtus.pro, but it's not enough to keep Space Station off them. Orbital Ray would be better if Bionade wasn't an issue, but Rajaro's caught in the Blizzard anyway. Space Station unleash a miniature wombo of ultimates. Virtus.pro get absolutely rolled. Now they only have an annihilation. It's probably not enough. A good Bionade, but it's not going to slow SSG down because they can use counter break line of sight as it moves up. A bob to the back of the point here for Sparker is going to be a massive nuisance for Virtus.pro, especially for their supports.
You see they're ready to disengage here as well. It's going to be the bob. Oh, no, that's a C9. Yeah, it's a classic Charlie 9.
Oh, that is not good.
We see players spam the C9 at all times, and chat will throw in the C9 at all times for random different things. But no, that's a legitimate one. That's a that's a homegrown, farm to table kind of C9. You know what I'm saying, Mitch? So
yeah, USDA grade A, fully sustainable, grass fed.
yeah, GMO free.
Okay.
That's an all natural C9, I'm afraid.
That is just. So Rajara is the one that has to touch here. Notice the wall.
It's a good wall. Very good wall, to be honest.
Yeah. He. Basically, no,
It's literally the wall.
Yeah. So the wall is great because I think it's up against the stacks of ammunition as well. So I don't know if he can actually get in between that gap because he's just so wide. He's got these like a
Wide Ramacha.
But
No one.
He has to he tries to break the wall with his primary fire. He doesn't want to use Nemesis form in order to.
But where was the team to help him? No one's breaking the wall. Like, bro surely is like screaming in the comms like, help me break the wall. I got a touch. Help me break the wall. Like, no
funny,
one's
right?
shooting
Like,
the
I
wall.
Moments like that when your protocols get like really stretched to their limits as a team. Like you just have to sort of react. It's not like if wall here, then do this. If wall there, then do this other thing. It's like, oh, there's a wall, guys. Crap, we have to figure this out. So Virtus.pro there. Breakdown of communication. Spacestation obviously going to gloat. Previously being part of the organization that bore the namesake of the Charlie Niner. I guess they have more right than anyone else.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, let's play
Really
some
good
Overwatch,
wall.
Kevin.
Yeah. No, I still think they could have touched. I think VP still could have touched. So I'm going to award that one as a certified board
that's
council member of the
bona fide.
C9 council. I'm going to award that one. My stance is clear. It's a C9, and we're going to move forward now for the VP attack. Nothing's changed here. Composition's the same. Now he's going to be starting out on towards the Ana. Note that he started on the Brig for the defense, but then swapped to the Ana later. So that's his prime pick as usual.
I think we're really seeing Backbone start to just take over the game a little bit in terms of these May walls. Just in general. I mean, looked amazing the control maps with those picks. Now it's the utility work, the positional play, but a big three-player Biono. That's great. Constantly, Rajara and Canale, God, one of them I'll get right, has been looking for Landon, trying to get the Bionate around the shield, because Brig is definitely one of the most susceptible once that bio comes in to hit. It's a great play by Virtus. Less clean than what we saw from Spacestation, but we are going to have a touch from Backbone here. Wall is thrown up, but Hardy's actually back in position. Virtus.pro are quite low as well. Most of the respawns are at least within this locale for Spacestation, and they've actually shrugged off already Canale's biotic grenade. Hardy's a little low, that's an issue, but Orbital Rave's going to fix that right up.
If they have the tempo for that as well, because Skylar died, right, so he doesn't have any ult to play through. He's so far behind, and that's all SSG needs. They understand they're going to go for a retake. It was a good start from VP. Brilliant nade from Canale that sets things up. Then Spacestation, Backbone on the flank to touch from the attacker side, then gives Hardy time to touch from the defender side, and all they need to do is just stay there until the orbital ray comes through, of which Gala is still lagging behind by a good 16, now 14%. Nano is on board though. So is she going to get some ultimates themselves, so it's not clear.
Another bio on Landon here. Yeah, exactly. Rajaro just beelines for that Brig. Not a whole lot Landon could have done again because Ramatra doesn't really care much about your shield when he's punching it. Annihilation, maybe not necessary, but the Blizzard here, nice little turnaround. Not enough damage though for this Rajaro issue to be dealt with. And again, Biotic Grenade thrown there by Canale. Ana offering just a little bit of an edge sometimes in utility. And obviously the threat generated by Bionade. I gotta know what you think about this. Like if you compare the Ana to Brig's impacts, which comp do you feel like is better?
I think Brig has just general better value, but when you can actually land your utility on the Ana, that's obviously you're going to get huge plays out of that. I prefer the Rally to the Nano though. If we're going to talk about ultimates, I think Rally's just, if you've got a 5-stack or if you're playing like a Goats-centric type of composition, which this basically is, then yeah, Rally's going to have a way bigger value than Nano.
It feels like it's a higher ceiling for the Ana composition, but in general, the Brig just offers you exactly what this comp normally looks for. Speaking of Rally, that is on deck. Yeah, we're going to see Spacestation approach here by Nate on Hardy. Oh, this is an awkward time for Spacestation to fight. Hardy just has to get out. There's another example of a Bionade giving you a huge tempo push, but Spacestation aren't really punished for it. They just give up a bit of meterage.
Well, now you have a situation where Gala can actually deploy the orbital rate. This is on board for VP here as well.
Good awareness.
Chasing Phantoms with the speed ring.
Here's that Blizzard. Party frozen up, but Orbital Ray means that Virtus.pro coming with a second wave of backlash. And Funny Astro definitely caught out in the open. Virtus.pro able to bait Spacestation into a fight where they have a nice Blizzard. And we saw the previous one there from Backbone on Rajaro. It looked okay, but there was no follow-up.
And here comes Rajaro. Just gotta get in the all chat there as well. Let them know. Let Spacestation know they're not gonna get away free on this one. As VP can get this next cap in due manner, it's gonna be a decent time back to compete with what SSG have on board. Now, given that 220 is there, and it was due to the fact that it was just a very fast cap with a nice wall into what is definitely a C9 is so problematic for VP. And there is a good retake here as well. Note that Funny Astro has an ultimate.
Yeah, nice little hyper ring there. Just means that Hardy can push up. Pressure Rajaro. Big bio again from Canale. Backbone couldn't get an ice block in. Apparently, Rajaro's going to get a freebie there. That's massive. Orbital Ray has to be used here for Funny Astro. Gala obviously is out of sync in terms of that ult charge, basically from the start of the round. This is how powerful Juno's ultimate is. Take note. They have to respect it even in a 5 versus 4. But now they're going to come through. Rajaro as well with Annihilation, and he wants to position deep in the backline when it's time to use it. He's got to be careful though. Spark have found Sauna elsewhere. Virtus.pro are running a player down, but with Hardy gone, they should be able to get this next checkpoint, and they do. They lock it up.
He's just marking the front line here. Doesn't even care about running Landon now because he knows there's other members that are going to potentially contest the payload. But get Hardy down, turn it into a situation where Hardy has to face entirely the VP backline, of which there's plenty of damage coming on through. SGG just can't contest with the other members. Landon couldn't really match the Nano Annihilation. He would have needed Rally for that to stay alive and to really push Rajaro back. And so the time is not going to be as insane as Space Station's time bank walking in to see, which I believe was 4:30 plus nearly 5 minutes or something like that. VP have far less to work through. In fact, they're not going to match the 220 at all, given what they have, but maybe they can do something still good.
We'll have to bank on a C9 as well, which is not an easy thing to do. It looks like, yeah, Virtus.pro at least in a position in that last round to fight for it. Canale is down, Blizzard here as well. Rajaro caught by that. Backbone had to be careful. There was some poke coming the way of Cloud, but now he throws up the wall. Easily secure that pick off. Another perfect isolating May wall there from Space Station Gaming. And Sauna eventually will have to bow out.
You're getting into the vortex of cycling ults here now for Space Station, where they win that one just with a Blizzard. They're about to hit up 4 ultimates. Now they can sort of perfectly just play through their defense, respawn advantage, and you know, it doesn't even matter if you're SSG losing one fight here. You've got payload in a spot where you can afford to lose one, then just kind of contest based on the respawn advantage on the actual cap itself. So I can see a likely scenario where VP doesn't get the cap until OT, and if it happens in OT, Mitch, this is going to be a draw-only scenario. And we could be looking at another Kings Road draw.
I mean, Space Station is so good though on that first point take. They looked incredible last time around. I think it all fell perfectly for them though. And there's no guaranteeing that'll happen a second time. Hardy though, here Nemesis form Annihilation used by him. He was slept for a time, and that is actually enough of a window for VP to get back. The wall definitely goes a long way. Cloud has to start thinking about this Blizzard now. How he can maybe punish an overextension. Sauna's going to walk around the May wall thrown up there by Backbone. He can easily get into the fight. Landon rallying though will be frozen. But it's not.
They kill him though. They're not going to get him.
Commit for that kill. And Rajaro actually just doesn't have healing in the backline. For whatever reason, it seems like Gala or Canale can't line him up. He gets blown to smithereens. I don't feel like that should have happened.
Oh, this is the situation where SSG just, you know, again, they had so many ults online, they can go 1-to-1, band for band with whatever VP want to put on the table here. And VP, they got a okay-ish Blizzard, but not the ideal one. You didn't catch Hardy. You got Landon, but he was armored up from the rally and didn't get the damage in time as well because he was hiding behind the payload. And all it took was SSG just to push ahead of Landon, keep him safe, put some extra healing in. Then suddenly the Blizzard doesn't do anything. Now we're down to below a minute, Mitch, and the payload has regressed so far that this is still 2 fights required for VP.
And Backbone is threatening to break ankles here with this Blizzard. Virtus.pro want to come forward. That's their MO right now with this ultimate combination with the Orbital Ray and the Annihilation. A Blizzard could stop them in their tracks. Let's see if Backbone's able to get it off. He moves up. He waits a while. Here's the Annihilation now being committed for Rajaro, and instantly the Blizzard. And that will shut that down for a time at least. Rajaro will be able to come out of that still in ultimate, still surrounded by foes, and Space Station now need to figure it out. Another wall thrown up. It's a good one. It means that Virtus.pro had to swing really wide on this corner and gives Hardy the time to deal with Cloud. They might have isolated him entirely. Bionade came in on towards Hardy, but he is too healthy to worry about it. And now Sparker and Funny Astro are winning the 2 versus 2, forcing Sauna into a corner, folding him into a pretzel, as desperately Gala now needs to look towards his teammates to keep them up because Rajaro's in trouble and he's out of line of sight of the Juno. Big bio. That one was better. Sparker falling and Landon now has to go for the rally. Rajaro stunned up briefly now and still wants to come forward, but Hardy has the Annihilation, and that is scary. Landon shields up, moves back. Rajaro still low, eventually falls, and a bio comes in with nobody to follow up on it. Cloud can only look on the Widowmaker now, and there's a shield in the way. You can see behind Hardy, Gala desperately trying to find some damage. A headshot for Cloud, but Sauna has already fallen. Now Bob will come in, and that has to be too much for VP. Space Station show us mastery of the Junotes comp on Kings Row.
And no shot to even get towards the goal there, sadly. I mean, they didn't even get close to the end point of the map. They were just stuck on that final corner, or not even the final corner, the first corner of C, if you really examine it, just not able to get past because economics was just not in favor of VP at all for any point of that C contest. It was all SSG. They were just able to, you know, play that one extremely frugally to their to VP's detriment, and the time goes down so fast. I mean, I said it 2.5 minutes before it happened, Mitch, but I very easily foresaw a situation where we just go down to 0, and I still thought VP had the opportunity to maybe get the final push on OT to just get that finish, but they needed a situation where they can cleanly get a couple of kills, land some good bio nades, stop these SSG ults from coming online, then relying on abusing OT spawn timers, where SSG are going to end up respawning very slowly and probably quite desperate to touch, and then you can just sort of stagger them through and get the cap.
There was definitely one big window for VP towards the end of the game to win. I think it was like an orbital ray and an annihilation combo that got owned by Backbone's Blizzard. Absolutely rolled and smoked. Here was obviously the fight outside their first point. On this is the attacking side. So at this point, Space Station don't lose a player. They don't lose a player until they're fighting well and truly into the Foundry. And we heard their team comms. They were like, that was a perfect point A take. Everything they did, the rotations, the protocols, the poke damage, all of it was just astounding. And that's what VP are now dealing with. They're up against an opponent who, if they make one mistake, like this is a big one, but if they even make a small mistake, they are going to get punished. It reminds me of ENCE back in the sort of the D.Va dominant meta. You couldn't stumble against them, otherwise you would find yourself slowly losing out on incremental value trades across the course of a map. Then that leads us back to the discussion about their old economy, which is where you sort of pressed on, right? There were times where SSG is able to get a monumental amount of value for very little, drawing out like large amounts of ultimates. This kind of fight kind of, you know, embodies that. And then coming back with, you know, like a one ultimate team fight win. And when we're in 5v5 and we are dealing with fights that could have 10 ultimates, if you can win an ult with a fight with one ult, that is massive. That is absolutely ridiculous value.
You brought up the sort of Ana versus Brig discussion there as well. And the other thing that I want to bring up in terms of that is, if we relate it to the alt economy discussion, Nano doesn't really do a lot. I mean, I didn't see a single time where SSG felt truly threatened by the Nano boost. I don't know if you saw that at all. It's like, yeah, throw the Nano to Jaro. Okay, what now? You even see situations where on Lee Jung Tao, it's a Nano plus Annihilation. Didn't seem threatening at all. Wasn't really doing too much for the team. Couldn't really find any members. So Ana really good in terms of throwing the utility out there to land the sleep dusted Bionades, but the Nano is basically non-existent as value.
Absolutely. 2 maps down in the series and 2 Ws in the column for Space Station Gaming. We've got more to come after the break. Myself and my Kiwi compatriot will be back after this short message.
There's a lot of history here as well when you consider we just got out of OWCS Stage 3 where, you know, these 3 teams have had a lot of back and forth. Less so between SSG and ENCE who didn't meet up, but I think between VP and SSG, I mean, they played like, what, how many matches now? 5 matches in the last couple of months, something like that, 4 or 5. So they've had a lot of back and forth, some very close games there, a couple of very one-sided games as well. And this might end up being one of those one-sided games, Mitch, because we're now on Runasapi. And if you cast your memory back to yesterday, SSG completely blew out ENCE on Runasapi, 112 meters in 2 minutes and 30. And if you also consider the fact that, okay, VP did beat Space Station in day 1 on a push, but that was New Queen Street. And you know what else that was? That was a D.Va mirror. We're not playing that anymore. We're in a RAM mirror where Space Station look leagues ahead.
They felt more comfortable and their ult trades have been much cleaner. So now Virtus.pro, who are also committed, priced into this Ramatra composition, need to show us a bit of a lift. We're going to be fighting, of course, in the periphery here to start because that Mega Health Pack is often hotly contested. And we'll see what Space Station look to do. A little slower to the punch here. Rajaro just, my God, that poke damage is unreal. He goes low, but again, there's plenty of healing to keep him back up. Space Station now ready to properly lock horns with them. A May wall there from Cloud will force SSG to the side room.
It was all Spark in his early headshot damage. He was on 17% when Sauna was on like 6. So yeah, double dink probably coming through from Spark and maybe one added in by Backbone. You start to see the damage is still just there for Space Station. Early walls now. Ooh, good catch.
Such a good wall. Hyper Ring used by Space Station to try and disengage there, but it's Virtus.pro that are taking the initiative right now, and as a result, they have taken the tempo. Backbone forced into an ice block, and Spacestation is a very slow disengage, but they do have to back away.
And they back away cleanly as well. They don't lose extra members. They don't feed a lot of ult charge, because that's been the problem for a lot of these teams when they are losing Runasapi or any push mappers. You're getting snowballed, and that's how you just end up losing 3 fights in a row.
Sparker doesn't have a good shot here. Really doesn't have any targets lined up. Gonna be orbital rate.
Oh!
Gala is funny. Astro didn't quite have his online, and Hardy gets dragged off his horse first. Once more, Space Station is then bundling back to spawn.
That's one way to get negative ult value. You pop the annihilation, you instantly die, and here come the staggers. Let's see if anyone gets... No, they don't get super staggers, so Funny Astro, at least Sparker will be able to spawn together. They don't have the full stagger there, but can there be a touch for this capture? I don't believe so, as they're going to end up missing 2 here. SSG nowhere to be found. Virtus.pro, 2 fights in a row. Not without cost. It is double support ultimates expended by VP.
Virtus.pro here. Happy to post up on this high ground. Maybe get some extra push off the bot on the low. So this is going to split Space Station's attention and force them into a potential flank scenario if they drop down. Hardy's the first to drop here, but look, you see Backbone and Lennon are still up there. Overwhelmed in terms of numbers. Backbone needs to be careful, but doesn't
Nails on an island.
high ground entirely. He wants to stay here. Eventually he has to go. Wall up. And the bot still sort of stood still. The Space Station group up on this low ground now. They need to keep everybody ready for this orbital raid. And there it is. It comes down. Blizzard after the ray, and Cloud's ice block was already used earlier on. But Backbone, the only one who was trying to dance among the snowflakes and actually get value, just gets taken down.
Yeah, this is all negative ult value for SSG so far. None of the ultimates have gotten anything done. And that wasn't even a fight where Canale had a rally or anything. He still saves the day. Blizzard coming through, as you mentioned, by Backbone. Double freeze onto the VP lineup, and Canale just comes in, swings the mace, pushes Backbone off, and prevents anyone from VP dying. So what you have now is a giant snowball situation where 5 minutes are going to push up. Sparker is on a flank. He's going to have that bob off angle. See what he does with that.
VP making use of this.
Oh, they're getting cleaned up.
Yeah, I mean, they have just a ridiculous numerical advantage in terms of their stats. Gala as well is able to keep the heals coming from a relatively safe place. Less so now. The Space Station are in complete disarray. Their ultimates have been out of sequence. They've given up so much of the map here, and they look like that's not getting any better anytime soon. Rajaru with Annihilation now as well, and Space Station haven't banked ultimates at all.
Oh my god.
Backbone falls, and this is starting to threaten a full cap scenario. Blood is in trouble. Rally even gets community by Canale. Look at this momentum for Virtus.pro. They will not be stopped.
Have they got a cap?
The Annihilation comes out.
Hardy's low. If they get Hardy down, they can cap. They can cap right now. This might be the cap, and it is. Wow, is that a speed run? What time is that? Yeah, Sora, let him know. Not actually a C9. I'm not going to certify it, but wow, I mean, damn, son. Is there a way to get back in the series like that much? I mean, that is confidence. You know what that statement is? That is, we don't need a diva. We don't need a diva matchup here. We're just going to play. You choose, by the way. That was SSG's choice on map. The ban was Colosseo for those that are curious. SSG then chose Runasapi because they're like, well, we rolled Ents on this map yesterday. Pretty sure we could just do the same to VP. And Rajara and crew's like, nah, it's not going to happen. By the way, I'm curious. How many people on VP died that map? I think like 2 max. Maybe 1 max.
That was one of the fastest push maps I've ever seen. At this level, it's just completely flabbergasting to see it in a matchup between SSG and VP. What a consummate pounding. What an utter drubbing. Space Station started on the back foot. I mean, it all started because, frankly, their orbital array was 2% behind that of VP, but even like VP's posturing, more aggressive, looking to set up May walls, taking the initiative, pushing into Space Station, and they were completely and utterly overwhelmed. This is the quality of VP on display now, that you can be down 0-2, you know, be under threat of just like falling out of the series in a clean sweep, and then go absolutely hog wild. This is a gear shift here for Virtus.pro, and you better hope that SSG are ready to keep up.
I mean, this is exactly what VP need, because if they win this one in a scrappy fashion, it doesn't feel that good. It's like, yeah, I mean, the reverse sweep is still pretty tough. But if you just like completely dominate SSG, embarrass them, honestly, I mean, that, let's be clear, that is a really embarrassing way to lose your map choice for what it's worth, as much as that's worth. I went back and checked, by the way. I believe the capture time is 3 minutes and 40 seconds. 3 minutes and 40 seconds, Mitch. So full cap by VP versus SSG in 3:40.
And that is 0 fights won there by SSG. Well, nothing that they could really hang their hat on at the very least. Looks like the understanding for VP Really, really good. You know, after they get that first checkpoint, they start playing up on the high ground and they're threatening Backbone. I think he eventually drops down with a wall. Spacestation try and make a play behind their own Blizzard. And the timing's fine. Like, I think Backbone actually waits out the ice block from Sauna, then throws Blizzard down. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to go kill Cloud now. And there's no one from SSG. They are elsewhere. They are not.
You want another fun fact?
Yeah, lay it on me.
Canal was the only one that died, and he died in the very last fight before they capped. So one death. It was one death. It was Hardy popped in Annihilation. Canal dies, and that's the only death on VP.
And then Hardy instantly died anyway in Annihilation.
It was nearly quite literally a flawless game where almost 0 members died on VP. And it's a full cap with like no resistance from SSG at all.
And to see in a series like this where SSG in general, like even like neutrally, have been very, very good. Their Ramatra comp has looked better over both maps against VP. Yeah, this one is going to absolutely take you by surprise. We've got to collect ourselves briefly and cast our minds towards Suravasa now, which will be our Flashpoint map. Now, last time these two teams played, it was a clean sweep for SSG, 3-0 in terms of Flashpoints. But I think, I mean, I was getting a little bit excited about, you know, sort of Space Station, but I caught at the start of the show, I thought VP had what it takes to go all the way. I do think that these teams really have the quality as well to put the thumb screws on ENCE. So if VP can just take Suravasa away, force that circuit. Remember, we aren't bookending this series now with a control map, which obviously isn't great for VP in this matchup. It is still anyone's game.
The circuit's going to be very interesting there as well because, you know, typically I think both teams have had amazing runs on this, and thankfully because of the Juno meta, probably you're not going to see SSG baited into a Rhine comp for that, but maybe getting myself a little bit further ahead as Suravasa obviously is the map to talk about. And when you think about this as well, consider that SSG also played ENCE on Suravasa yesterday, and that went down to the wire. I mean, that was, I think, obviously the defining map, because if SSG wins Suravasa, which they very well could have, it would have been 3-1 for SSG instead of the 3-2 for ENCE, and we never would have gone to Junkertown. You never would have seen the Kai pop off, and you never would have had SSG in a situation where, like, man, bro, we just cannot play Junkertown. So maybe it is actually good for them to lose Junkertown twice in a row so they can just get rid of it in the pool. But beyond that, the greater point here, Mitch, is this is still really dangerous for VP, and I think if you're SSG, obviously, you still got a couple maps left to play, but you should feel good about the fact that you nearly beat ENCE on this map, and you did beat VP on this map already.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly close the first time around for these two either. But looks like a different VP today. I mean, at least it looks like a different VP based on the last map. But was it just a flash in the pan, a blip in the radar, so to speak? Or was it a sign of something to come, something a little more from Virtus.pro? Now we're going to have a longer map, more opportunities for mistakes to be made, because like we talked about, if you stumble, if you slip up against Space Station, they're going to punish you and they're going to drag it out. They are going to, you know, sort of capitalize on that error for as long as they possibly can. Suravasa is still a totally fine arena to show off your mastery of these Ramatra comps.
I'll tell you what,
Virtus.pro have for us now to be a TP out of spawn, and they'll be on the road.
After raking SSG over the coals over that last map, I'll give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt here and say that this is also a very different map. Push, you have a situation where you can just lose to a snowball. That's a push moment, unfortunately, and VP took full advantage of that. Flashpoint, you're going to have to play this one over several different points with many ult cycles, and one snowball is not going to be the be-all and the end-all here for sure, for either team, that is.
Yeah, numerous opportunities for the team that is behind to come back. Space Station, though, what we were sort of celebrating them for is great ult economy. Really being able to get some, like, thrifty fight wins. Only committing 1 or 2 ultimates and often drawing out more than that. Can they return to those winning ways? Big damage on VP. Look how low they are. That is absurd. Gala is a lot of work to do. Oh, this is awkward. Please give him a torpedo. Somehow, they are alive. Space Station are not able to push up and capitalize on what was like a 50% health pool advantage.
So that's pushing Canals healing output to the absolute limit of what Brigitte can, you know, churn out. The cookie factory can't make cookies that quickly, but he's threw them out, no worries. Sadly for Cloud, though, he won't get enough healing.
Spiker found a really good off angle there. The dynamite too much for Cloud, and also some pressure applied to Gala, who will be susceptible to Ash in general. So good start for Space Station again. It's good at neutral play. Take the point by just doing more damage and forcing VP back, and then find a nice little pick from a little off angle.
And these kind of pushes from VP as well, or rather from SSG, to just kind of maybe find a straggler, maybe punish VP slightly further, force a 5v4, just allows you to extend your point lead to now 60%. And once we get to the 80% mark, that's the one fight territory. So nearly there now.
Orbital Ray here for both sides. Hardy goes a little bit low, holds on to that annihilation until he realizes he needs the extra durability, if nothing else. Gonna pop it here. There is a rally in play for Canale. So Spacestation uses this to back up because they know at some point VP have to step forward and Sauna goes down. Again, it's Sparker. He's the one that finds the pivotal kill in this fight. And the House of Cards again just comes crumbling down. An easy, or rather, comparatively easy first flashpoint for Spacestation.
Yeah, costly though. 4 ultimates used by SSG, but I think 100-0, you take those for sure. And VP didn't go out of that unscathed either in terms of their economy. Their bank account looking a little bit worse for wear after using 3. Canale even popping rally at the end there when the fight was looking pretty pretty down in the dumps for VP's chances of actually turning that around. He thought maybe they could clutch it out, but just not going to be the case here. As Sauna dies pretty early in the bomb, not getting any value. Now it's going to come down to the Blizzard. That's the one thing they're going to have, definitely on top of Backbone. Rally is going to be pretty good for Spacestation though. If they can just sort of speed out of the Blizzard, they'll be okay.
Cloud.
No catch on the wall.
Yeah, it doesn't do much there. At least, I guess, gives Virtus.pro some space to move in behind, and they made use of it. Sparker eventually is felled by Cloud at medium range there. That wall again for Spacestation doesn't really achieve anything. We'll have the Blizzard in hand for Cloud here.
Oh,
Pick on
what
back.
was that?
Oh, he went off the map, question mark. Not great. That's a mistake here for a Spacestation that Virtus.pro can now punish.
Maybe unforced. Well, I'm not quite too sure what happened there. Sometimes you do get a boop. Could have been Canale booping him off the map and you don't get credited with the kill, so it's possible it's that or he literally just walked off somehow. But as you mentioned, not ideal in either case. It's a reset. It will slow things down. You talk about thrifty fights as well. VP got that point captured at 40% and counting with no ultimate spent.
And so they've been able to build theirs up. However, losing Canale so early in the fight, it's pretty bad. Cloud going to try and rectify this with a Blizzard that Hardy is more than happy to play in. It's also awkwardly blocked. Snowball's line of sight gets blocked, I think, by the pillar. So Hardy actually can sort of play inside of it. You've got to be careful to try and get that out in the open properly.
Yeah, had a snow coat on for that one, so he had that cold resist extra in VP. They got 76, so it's technically within one fight territory. I think if you are quick for SSG, you could potentially still get a touch, but given that this meta doesn't feature a Tracer or anything super fast like that, it could still be dangerous, which means that VP, one really solid fight here, can land them at this point, and they need it, otherwise they have to reverse sweep the map. They are at a deficit. SSG sitting on 4.
Spacestation, like you mentioned, really healthy bank of ultimates here. Both teams pretty even in that regard. The Blizzard for Backbone arguably being more impactful than the Bob of Sauna, but it all comes down to execution. Defensive Blizzard here used by Spacestation. They try and give that space, but Gala was able to find the elimination before they were frozen. Hardy uses some of that annihilation himself to get rid of the Juno. And now Bobby's in play. Wall going to be thrown out by Virtus.pro, so they do not want to face that down, and they fold back around the corner, which limits the effectiveness of Rajara's ultimate. They do flip, 96% and counting now, but Sauna has gone down, and Spacestation should be able to shove them off the point again.
The flip means they get an extra fight here, so that's the insurance policy confirmed for VP. No matter what happens here, they're going to get an extra engagement, and now that the ultimates are all out of the way, they're going to get a clean neutral on that as well. No, I lie. Cloud's going to have a Blizzard, so the flip will come through. Landing, even dying, is just going to slow down the capability for SSG to be able to regroup properly. It means that SSG can't really take too many aggressive positions. They have to still kind of wait for landing here. This is all looking pretty damn good for VP, assuming they can execute this next engagement with very specific timing, because if you're too slow on this Blizzard, on the Ice Wall catch, Bunny Astro ends up getting that orbital rate, and that can swing the fight back to SSG.
Time is short though. Virtus.pro don't have much time to jockey for position and play a neutral game before actually just hitting this point properly. It's not a flank. Cloud, it's a beautiful flank angle. No one's paying attention to him yet. Eventually Backbone realizes what's happening and hits the panic button. Into the Blizzard he goes though, and he will be frozen stiff. It's just one right click for Cloud to come out with, and he almost gets rid of the Brig too, but elsewhere, Sparker still did work. 2 kills, one with the Dynamite, and Hardy also involved there. Virtus.pro, we see Cloud look to try and use a Blizzard to shut down an individual. Maybe that's better used for a big team fight.
Yeah, just overcommitted on a single play. I mean, it's the opposite of what Kevster did yesterday for the heroic play in what is basically the same spot as well, Mitch, on that garden point where he got a 5-man freeze here. Cloud's thinking, I'm gonna get Backbone down. Maybe he misread the ult charge. He thought Backbone could have had his own Blizzard, so he just wants to get rid of Backbone first and eliminate that ultimate pop potential, but just doesn't realize that the rest of his own team is unable to assist him in getting that Backbone kill. And meanwhile, Spacestation, they're routing the rest of VP, so from Cloud's POV, he's doing his job, but he doesn't realize his team is just losing.
That is a hard fight to lose for Virtus.pro. And Gala just leaps and bounds like Bambi into the line of sight of Sparker. Easy, into the road. Easy kill. Head off to the glue factory with you, young Bambi. And a bomb available here for Sparker. Wall, though, rudely interrupts him. That will come down eventually, but Sauna's Bob is in a position to get some better value, and Landon fell. Jaro frozen up, but Annihilation still be ticking. Once he comes out of that, but so much damage. Very, very easy to break through that Ramattra when he is frozen. Another great Blizzard from Backbone.
Well, this is definitely the opposite of a Thrifty. Gala, by the way, he dies first, comes back and dies again, so that was, what, 6 players down? Well, not in 6v6, but VP lose more than 5 here, so they have a lot of work to do here. So let's see if they can get it done with the listening.
At your service.
You want to take top? Yeah. Can.
Yeah, we can fight top with.
I try bait main, okay? I try bait summer main.
Yeah.
Ask me. Swak main, fuck up.
Okay, walk it.
Ja. No
Yeah,
go.
good.
Back up.
Zagram. Tam ready clash. Everything.
Team right.
No.
Slowly.
I'm I have to go back.
Swing to the...
You want. Full
Okay,
kite.
fine,
I'm back on main, yeah.
Hey, maybe push it up.
I missed.
Hey,
I can see that. 3, 2, 1, setting out here, shooting.
Last one. No shift.
I top point, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. That's slow.
Shooting main point, I'm going to main point.
Big one.
Mid them.
Main one right.
Cloud again goes for a Blizzard, trying to isolate Hardy. This time, though, it works out. The one-player Blizzard looks a lot better when it's on the enemy Ramattra, that's for sure. Hardy also had an Annihilation. Won't have a chance to use it. The Space Station can simply regroup here and look to end the series.
Planning a chance to use it in the following fight, and that will come sooner rather than later. Would love to kill Sparker there, because that would confirm a lot more percentage cap, and a long stagger. In fact, might still die. Still going down. There he goes. Rajaro with the final hit is a long range in the monk form of all his VP. I mean, that's the pathway you need. You can now extend this one up a little bit further. It reduces the amount of fights required for VP to make this comeback happen. And remember, it's a reverse sweep required on this map. And Spacestation currently holding most of the cards in terms of ultimates until VP catch up.
Yeah, still the better Flashpoint team by the looks of things. But it's not too late for Virtus.pro to make a change. They only have Bob, though, to work with. The ultimates really don't favor them. Backbone there sees an opportunity to just yeet the Blizzard out. That's going to be ticking. Unclear who it catches, if anyone. Oh, it's Gala. Oh, into the backline. What a stunning Blizzard from Backbone. Just laconically tosses it in the direction of VP. And he hits both supports. That is crazy. Canal survives course, gets the rally up. That's going to be pretty important. But better when you have a full team. Space Station here. Shut the door on Virtus.pro. And it's only a desperate ice block here for Cloud, rather, to try and touch down. And SSG are definitely going to be advancing to the final of this race. Sauna has no choice but to try and contest here, but it is done and dusted. Virtus.pro are eliminated.
And now you have a Space Station game that could not overcome VP in OWC Stage 3, but tell you what, FACEIT Masters Season 2 is a different story, a different meta, a brand new hero, and a brand new Grand Finals for SSG to try and retake that throne up against ENCE in our Grand Final. That was almost a 3-0, but the Runa Sapi in the middle really tripped up SSG big time.
Yeah, us as well. I mean, quite frankly, that wasn't just like a map victory. That was like sheer and utter domination. I don't think I've seen a push map being closed out this quickly in a very long time. Like, that snowballed out of control. And after that, you would have assumed that maybe map 4 is going to go the distance. And quite frankly, round 2, I mean, that was VP's to win, right? There were a little slip up, maybe miscalculation there regarding the ult and how to use it that may have cost them this map, but should have, could have. You'll never know. SSG definitely the worthy winner of this one. They came prepared.
Well, that's what we've been kind of talking about, especially over the first 2 maps. It's the little things that really made a difference. I won't dare say that about Runa Sapius or Avasa, but again, we talked about how effectively, I mean, this map was crazy. It was, like I said, almost the perfect game for Space Station on their attack for the first 2 points. Nothing you can take away from them, and it's not as if VP are utter pushovers either. They just could not do any wrong. And eventually, of course, then there's another massive error with a little Charlie 90 here from Virtus.pro that let Space Station have a massive time bank. Like, frankly, it's egregious. Like, 2 and a bit minutes here, 2:20 to work with. And at that point, like, even if you have a great run through the map, you're still concerned about, meeting that time. And Kevin called it. He said, I don't know if VP can actually finish the map here. And he was right. They couldn't find enough of those small edges, the incremental value to get them through the map.
It's these C point defenses, Mitch, on basically every single hybrid, and often on escorts as well. We can just dig your heels in so easily and so comfortably, and credit to Backbone for that brilliant ice wall again, and unfortunate coordination from VP to try and break that one in time for the touch, but all the coordination was then found again on Runesapi, and I even went to check once again to see if this was maybe the world record, and to my knowledge, this is the fastest Runesapi completion in professional Overwatch that I've seen so far, because the other one that was quite quick was SSG versus Game & Gladiators Esports World Cup, but that one was still 4 minutes and something. This is 3:40, so unless someone tells me otherwise at a pro level, this is the fastest Runesapi we've seen.
And it happens between a second and third seed, which is, for me, what is that much more astonishing. Unfortunately, as I heralded, it was just a flash in the pan. This beautiful Blizzard here from Backbone, catching both an Ashe and that Juno, just making it very, very easy. I mean, that's the death knell here in a big way for VP in this fight. And they had a chance. Like, they come into that fight with Rally and Bob. Like, they can definitely do something here, but I don't know. Backbone's May is just... it's built a little bit different.
It's that marker point for me. I think the marker point they really needed to win, because once they were down 0-2 and you're already up against a hill here in that Ram matchup, aside from the Runesapi, if you just examine the other 3 maps, the Ram mirror was profoundly better for SSG, so that's their bread and butter for sure.
I love that they found a stride here. I mean, yeah, they started off on that Diva. I feel like all the teams heading into day one were still trying to figure out, like, what does this meta look like with Juno in the mix? They were switching things around in the back lines, in the front lines, and like all across the board. But, SSG, they found their stride. They found their comfort picks. Sparker, of course, has been an absolute force to be reckoned with, making so much space for his team. Like, he just always carries his weight and then some.
I mean, it's a deserved MVP. It's him or Backbone for me, but Sparker, where Backbone's, I guess involvement really comes down to those ability uses. Sparker's consistency in basically causing VP to all be at 50% HP every time a fight starts is huge. Not always the flashiest thing to play Ashe against a team of like relatively squishy things, but she's so necessary because of the pressure she puts down on Juno, changes the way she plays. She has to really respect it. Times that Sparker is able to find Sauna across the map and win that Ashe duel and put the team at a massive, massive advantage.
And I think the difficulty here is you're in a situation as well where, this is where you might actually want to have Shockwave in. I don't know if he's aware he's at this stage, because if you are just going to full lock the Ashe and just only play the Ashe because you've locked in this kind of Ram mirror composition, yeah, that's where Shockwave's bread and butter is. And Sauna is great for the Tracer and great for the Fire and stuff like that, but that's not really what these teams are playing anymore. And ironically, I've always looked at VP as the poke team of EMEA and of maybe global professional Overwatch esports. Yes. But in this particular matchup, when you look towards May and Ashe at the same time, and it's Backbone and Sparker, they absolutely outpoked VP. So they actually poked extremely well, and Backbone gets my honorable mention for that because he got a number
Just think of Lijiang.
Very early picks.
Like how many, like,
exactly, yeah.
Like Lijiang Gardens, like how many like first picks that he just gets, just like ice spiking people on the bridge.
100%.
Like, it's not supposed to happen.
He's also not taking unnecessary risks. So I think he plays a very cautious, very demure, very mindful. Is that still a mean? I don't know.